What is going on, guys? Michael here from TYT YuGiOh, coming at you with a super wacky anti-meta Traptrix artifact Mekk-Knight deck profile. A couple things to get out of the way before we start the video. This deck is not super good. It's not like a budget deck or anything like that. It's just a cool deck. It's just fun. So try it out for yourself. See if you can make any tweaks or improvements to suit your play style, suit your liking, suit your local metagame, anything like that. But don't, flame me in the comments because this deck's not going to, be topping any YCSs anytime soon, okay? So with that out of the way, as long as you got your expectations lined up, go ahead and enjoy the list. So the way I'm going to do this, because you kind of have to see all the cards in this deck to know, like, how it works. So I'm just kind of run through the list, and then I'll explain the cards after I've sort of run through the list, okay? So we play these Traptrix cards, play 3 Myrmilio and then 1 Dionea. We play Mekk-Knight cards, 3 purple, 2 blue, 1 indigo. Play 2 artifacts, Scythe and Moral Attack, and then we play 3 Phantasme. Those are all the monsters, alright? Oh yeah, it's Phantasme if you didn't see, I'm rich. So we play onto the spells, 3 Instant Fusion, 3 Mind Control, 3 Super Poly, 2 Called by the Grave, and 2 Pot of Desires. Spells, okay? Like I said, this deck is weird. Onto the traps, 3 Sanctum, 3 Traptrix to search the Sanctum, 3 There Can Be Only One, and then some Myrmilio targets. It's a Bottomless Trap Hole, Time Space Trap Hole, and Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. So, alright, now that I've gotten all the cards out of the way, now you can kind of see what the deck is trying to do. So, the idea is I have a lot of cards that are very good going first, and a lot of cards that are very good going second. So, and a lot of like sort of complementary cards that work well with each other. So, let's start with the Traptrix. These cards going first, they establish Traptrix Sarah and obviously set a trap card. And Sarah is just infinite value in terms of disrupting your opponent. So this is like a very strong opening play. I don't play Traptrix Mantis because that card is not very good. It doesn't actually establish any disruptions on your opponent's turn. It just like maybe searches Dionea or something like that to use in your following turn. And it definitely doesn't do anything going second. Myrmilio is much better going second because it actually establishes a column for the Mekk-Knights. Because you link it away for Sarah, and then you can set the trap you searched with it beneath the Sarah to make a column for the Mekk-Knights if you have to, right? So this has synergy going first and second. But then since we are playing the 3 Myrmilio, I did want to play the 1 Dionea. It just having 4 normal summons makes the math a little bit nicer in terms of opening up, consistently with a normal summon. And Dionea can just act as that late game extender, something to top deck, get you back in the game, provide you with link materials and stuff like that, right? So the Traptrix don't have a lot of offensive power, but what complements them really nicely is these Mekk-Knights, right? So these like kind of give you like a high ceiling, high offensive power option, which again, since these generate a column for you with the Sarah, this kind of has some natural synergy. You can also just really kill people with these, like you go like this one, search this one, like summon this, move it, like summon blue, like it's crazy. I've summoned like so many Mekk-Knights at once before, it's bananas. I mean, 3 in a turn is the most you can summon, but whatever, we're not counting. So, to go along with that, I wanted more like going first and going second cards. What's a really nice going first card, you ask? Artifact Sanctum with these artifact monsters, right? So Scythe is a huge blowout, and that's what I want going first. Since my deck is sort of split between going first and going second, I want my going first cards to be absolute blowouts when they resolve, and so Scythe is just like literal emptiness against some decks. That said, Scythe is very subpar against one of the most popular decks right now, Sky Striker, so Moral Attack is much better, but still not great, but I think it's just worth including so that you don't have like 6 vanillas in your deck against one of the most popular decks, because at least Moral Attack can like hit, roll or something like that, right? So it's just it's also much better against Rogue in general. And since this deck is kind of anti-meta centric, I definitely wanted an option, for the Rogue decks. you know, your random True Dracos, your Geists, you know, stuff like that, right? And so then, not only because our main deck is so bad against Striker, we do play the Phantasme, but also it has like the random synergy with the artifacts, right? Like we can shuffle them back if we draw them to resolve our Sanctum. So this card is just like very strong, and just again has the random synergy with the artifacts. Kind of covers some of our weak points. So, this is where it gets kind of weird, I guess. So we play, again, cards that are good going first and going second. Super poly, and there can be only one. So this is sort of in the spirit of like blowing our opponent out on turn one. We can flip there can be only one, which is obviously a huge floodgate against some decks. During our opponent's turn, we can flip super poly, fuse with their board, hopefully leave them with nothing, right? Or going first, again, we have like the effectively six copies of Sanctum to like just floodgate our opponent with Scythe, and things like that, right? But again, these cards are also very good going second. Again, for example, you know, you flip this against a pure Thunder Dragon board, like you just plus infinite, you take their Colossuses, you summon Thousand Eyes Restrict, like take their monsters or whatever, right? So these cards are good going first and second. These cards are good going second, and these cards are good going first. So we have a lot of versatility here between going first and going second, which again is sort of reflected from the monster lineup too, right? We have the Mekk-Knights, which are very good going second, and the Traptrix, which are very good going first. You know, Artifacts, good going first. Phantasme is good going second. So it's really just about versatility, the ability to go first or second, and kind of having an adaptable play style, depending, you know, on the matchup, while still having those huge blowouts, right? There can be only one Sanctum, you know, super poly, things like that, right? Just the other two other spells we play, the Desires and Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is really just to make sure that your Sanctum resolves, because you play so many of them, you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket. If your opponent ashes your Sanctum, that kind of sucks, because a lot of the hands you'll see in this deck going first, you're never like setting 5 traps. You're setting like 1 or 2, right? Like you're setting Sanctum plus like a trap hole, or like Sanctum plus super poly, or like something like that, right? So you need to make sure that your blowout cards actually resolve. That's like the whole idea. And so this is mostly to make sure that that happens, because you don't really care about any other like hand trap. Like Asham or Milio is like not very good for them, because you just summon Sarah and like you probably have a trap, and so you're just floating infinite, right? But this is like mostly for the Sanctum. And then Desires, this is like the only draw card you can really play, since we play the Mekk-Knights and the Super Polys and the instant fusions and stuff, right? You actually, and the, you know, the Sarahs and stuff, you actually do need your extra deck, so we can't play Extravagance. Because of Sarah, you can't really play Pot of Duality or Card of Demise, or again the high monster count, can't play like Demise or anything. So this is just the best draw card that we can play. Helps you, you know, going like against Thunder Dragon or whatever, going second, you draw your outs, you draw your Super Polys, instant fusions, mind controls, stuff like that. And going first, it just draws you traps. So really the only thing you have to be like worried about is banishing like your artifacts, but literally like you can never just be afraid of banishing a one of off Desires. That's just like a table 500 mentality. So it's definitely okay to play Desires, even though you like don't want to banish Scythe or whatever. It's literally fine. The odds of that happening are very, very, very low. And Pot of Desires drawing you like nutty cards will happen way, way, way more often than like it drawing you Sanctum after you banished Scythe. So, and then, you know, the last 3 cards, these are the trap hole targets. This is really just to get value off the Myrmilio and the Sarah. I like to play these ones because this one seems like the best one, like in general at the moment. It's good against Thunder Dragon and Orcust and stuff like that. You know, shuffle back the Dingirsu, shuffle back, or not the Dingirsu, the Galatea. You know, shuffle back Thunder Dragon fusions, stuff like that. Traptrix, Chapel, Nightmare, generally good against things like Nightmare Phoenix, because we are playing a back row deck. Although, interestingly, cards like Nightmare Phoenix and like Twin Twisters and stuff are not actually that good against our deck. Really, the only thing that they can hit effectively is like there can be only one as a Floodgate, but most of our other traps are chainable, right? Like the Sanctums and the Traptrix are chainable. And even if they destroy a Sanctum, like, you just pop one of their cards, so it's pretty nice. But still, you just want to have this, you know, it's versatility. And speaking of versatility, that's why I like to play Bottomless as my third one here. Again, my deck is very like anti-meta focused. It's very bad against Rogue, and so Bottomless is just generally the best one against Rogue that I've found. You know, I imagine like these cards, for example, like we play against True Draco, like these cards aren't resolvable, like stuff like that, right? So I wanted, you know, an option, and since it is searchable, you know, after Familiar or something, I think it's fine, justifiable to put in the deck as, you know, that flexibility option, right? So moving on to the extra deck, again, I'll kind of show everything at once and then explain it. So we play Link Karibo, Traptrix Sarah, Nightmare Phoenix, Underclock Taker. Oh geez, that glare is really bad. Ha ha ha. Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, Nightmare Unicorn, Borload, Boral Sword. So these are all the Link monsters. The idea with these is that most of them are different types. So we can play under There Can Be Only One pretty nicely by, for example, we can have like a dragon, a fairy, an insect, or an insect, and like a psychic, right? And then like we can like attack with these, or we could like link these two into like Phoenix and then make a Boral Sword or something, right? So we can actually have a field full of monsters and summon powerful extra deck monsters, especially this one, because we do have the Phantasmes, we do have the high level Mekk-Knights, right? And so we can make all of these powerful monsters after, you know, we steal our opponent's monsters with mind control and stuff like that, and we can do it under There Can Be Only One as our floodgate. So pretty happy with that Link monster lineup for that reason. Then we go into a bunch of fusion cards. So these are, so this is the instant fusion target. This is what makes instant fusion good going second, like it forces negates. This is a super poly target. Sometimes you can wombo combo it with like, or instant, like you summon this off instant fusion, make this a dark, and then like super poly this and your opponent's dark to make Starving Venom, wherever I put it. Yeah, Starving Venom. That can come up sometimes randomly. Starving Venom, obviously, for Thunder Dragon and Orcust and like everything, every dark deck. Vortex Dragon for Pendulum, Violet Chimera for Salamangreat. And then the last two spots in the extra are basically flex spots, so you can kind of put whatever you think is going to come up in here. Here are what I decided to play. So I am playing a Mega Fleet Dragon. This is for Cyber Dragon Orcust. When they go first and they summon like Orcust combo plus Infinity, on your turn, you just contact fuse for this using their Galatea and their Infinity. So you just plus Infinite for free, and I just like respect that deck enough to put this in my extra for that reason. So, and then the last card of my extra is a Dingirsu. This is for two reasons. One, if I mind control my opponent's Galatea, and it resolves, then I just plop this on top, and then I just like get a free Dingirsu, and that's kind of nice. The other reason is because against Thunder Dragon, between the Starving Venom, which is level 8, mind controlling their Colossus, which is level 8, and summoning Purple Nightfall, which is also level 8, I can just like legitimately overlay into this card and out an extra Thunder Dragon fusion, which is like quite nice. So that's the reasoning for the Dingirsu in the extra deck. So I can also briefly explain the side deck. I actually have spent a decent amount of time thinking about this. So again, I'll show it and then explain it. 2 Pankratops, 2 Ash, 2 DD Crow, 1 Ghost Bell, kind of jank, 2 Galaxy Cyclone, 2 Different Dimension Ground, 2 Heavy Storm Duster, and then 2 Judgment, okay? So the reason for all these like weird 2-ofs is because I need enough flexibility to side for a bunch of matchups, but also, if you noticed, my main deck is very, very bad against Sky Striker. For example, there are 11 cards I want to side out against Sky Striker. So I want to side out 3 There Can Be Only One. I want to side out Super Poly, right? Because those like just don't have an effect. I want to side out pretty much all the artifacts because they don't really do anything. And therefore I want to side out 3 Sanctum. And that's like my only Traptrix target. So I want to side out the Traptrix, right? And so when I side out all 11 of those cards, and then against Sky Striker, regardless of whether I'm going first or second, I side in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So these cards are just way better than like the 11 I'm siding out. And they're also versatile enough to cover other matchups as well. Like these cover any random rogue back row matchups, These are for Salamangreat. This comes in against Thunder Dragon, right? This can come in against Salamangreat potentially, and stuff like that, right? And then these 4, this is for Orcust going first. It's searchable from Traptrix, and then like it's just a big floodgate for them. It's also chainable to things like, you know, Twin or whatever, right? And then Judgment can come in basically anytime you're going first, particularly against things like Thunder Dragon. This stops Red Reboot. This stops Danko, and things like that. So this is just a very good option. Also, this is unfortunately my deck's only out to Pankratops, because none of the Mekk-Knights actually attack over this, neither does Phantasme. And so if your opponent just like summons this and lets it float, like if they just attack you with it, you actually just can't out it, because you'd have to like mind control it, but then they like just chain it and kill something and you go neg infinite, right? So Judgment is actually just also like the deck's only out to Pankratops, so you kind of play it as a counter side for that reason as well. These obviously are searchable by Traptrix, right? And you'll notice that there's not a ton sided for things like Thunder Dragon or Salamangreat, right? For example, we only have these for Salamangreat, just like this for Thunder Dragon, this for Thunder Dragon, and that's on purpose because my main deck is insane against those decks already. Sanctum is insane against those decks, Super Poly is insane against those decks, There Can Be Only One is insane against those decks, right? And then the rest of it is just like my engine. So my main deck is pretty much skewed towards that, so really, most of my side is focused on Striker and then like random Rogue, you know, with a few cards here or there for those other matchups. So hopefully you enjoyed this deck list, my little explanation and analysis. Like I said, not a super competitive deck, it's mostly just for fun. So I encourage you guys to give this a try, see if you can make any tweaks, see if we can figure this out together, make it, you know, the best cool rogue strategy as it can be. And yeah, so I hope you guys have some fun with it. And this has been Michael from TYT YuGiOh. I'll catch you guys next time.